self-made millionaire Steve Siebold says anyone can hit life's jackpot.
Steve Siebold is a world-class expert on mental toughness training for increasing sales, developing people, and managing change. He's a best-selling author and popular television interview guest on mental toughness for building wealth, getting fit, and excelling in sports.
How does a rich person look at money? What do they see? They see
lots of it.
And just available out there in the universe?
It's everywhere, especially with the recession. We have total chaos in the economy all over the world, world economy.
So they see opportunity.
They see opportunity because there's all these problems. Because where there's chaos, there's opportunity to solve problems, to make money.
Someone said that the rich, having made a lot of money last year in the stock market, and maybe some money in the housing market, the rich have an obligation to spend that money to help the economy. And you say?
Why? Why are they obligated? I mean, these people didn't make their money robbing banks. They made their money solving problems.
Because it would be good for the economy.
So is solving problems. I mean, do people want their problems solved or not? If they want their problems solved, you're going to have to look to the innovators, the job producers, the creators.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Steve Siebold.
Hey everyone, it's Steve Siebold, and I want to welcome you to our program tonight, How to Make $5,000 in 5 minutes. Now I know it's an extreme title, but I can also assure you it's completely true. As a matter of fact, if we were taught how to do this in school, it's highly likely that none of us in the first world would really ever be suffering from financial stress or distress even. So here's the story. So I want to thank all you guys for being on here. Especially those of you in the United States who are just getting ready for the Thanksgiving dinner and the family's coming in. You're probably traveling. I know a lot of people are traveling. We actually had over 1,000 people sign up for this. We only have room for 300, a little less than 300 on our call because we didn't expect that many to sign up. But I think it says a lot that 1,000 people signed up because so many people are struggling with money. Even in the richest countries in the world, people are struggling. So here's a story. The backstory is more people come in here for a second before we get started. So my wife and I are sitting on the beach in South America last week where we have our winter home. And we were down there just for a few weeks, kind of getting ready to go back in January and whatnot. And we're sitting there and we're thinking, how lucky are we? We got to be two of the luckiest people, in the world because we had all this mentorship. For 41 years, I've interviewed self-made millionaires and billionaires. I started back in 1984. Some of you weren't even born in 1984, but that's when this all started. And, it's just been an unbelievable gift because they taught us the things that you don't learn in school about money and that, most people really, really never learn. And it changed our lives. And so we're sitting there talking and we're saying, this is great for us. I'm turning 61 next month, and we were talking about that. My wife's around the same age, and we were just saying, how lucky are we? And then we're hearing stories like you are that, healthcare in the United States is about to quadruple for a lot of people, double, triple, whatever it is. People are not going to be able to afford it. Inflation's crazy. Grocery prices are crazy. The political mess, we all know what that is. Whatever side you're on, it's incredibly stressful for all of us, People are stressed out. And the biggest stress I think most of us have is money. And we're sitting there thinking, how lucky we are. And I said to my wife, we got to go back. We got to go back. And she said, what do you mean? I said, we got to go back to the States for a bit for one thing. But we got to go back and see if we can help some of these people. I'm not saying we're going to save the world or anything like that. I don't have any grandiose ideas. But, there's a lot of people, 2 million people have bought my books over the last, 20 odd years. All over the world, and I've been very fortunate. And a lot of people, and I get emails and messages from people every day saying, "Can you help me? What can I do? I can't pay my rent. I can't pay my mortgage. I'm struggling. I don't know what to do. I'm stressed out. I'm a single mom. I'm working 3 jobs. I'm driving Uber. I'm delivering pizzas, and I have credit card debt, and there's just no way I can catch up." And I've gotten those messages. I mean, literally for 20. I suppose ever since my first book came out, How Rich People Think, people started, asking these questions. So we started talking about it. I said, we got to go back and at least talk about the major thing that changed our lives, that the rich people taught us that that no one else did. And so that's what we did. So we got on the plane, we came back to we have a home near Atlanta on Lake Lanier, and we are literally broadcasting from our studio in our basement on Lake Lanier, North Georgia. We have the gym on one side of the basement and the studio, our little 3-camera studio here on the back end. And so we're pleased to be with you, and thank you for doing this. So I'm going to get started talking about how you can do this. There's one concept I really want to push tonight, and just to really get you to think about it. And before I do that, I should say, some people, I got a lot of questions because so many people have responded to this very quickly. We just put it on email and in social media just a few days ago, and we were literally just overwhelmed with so many people. I thought maybe 100 people would want to jump on, and again, we had 1,000 people. Most of the people that signed up are not going to be able to get on. So that's what it is. But a lot of people had asked, are you promoting like a network marketing company or a direct sales company or something like that? And the answer is no. I'm a big fan of network marketing. I'm a big fan of direct sales and everything that's entrepreneurial, because I'm just a street entrepreneur, just like those guys are and other people. I'm a big fan, but this is not anything connected to network marketing or direct sales or anything else you've ever heard of, frankly. I'm pretty sure. Okay. This is the one. I'm not saying it's a secret, but it's the one thing. I've spoken about this in our industry, the speaking and writing industry, all over the world. And honestly, very few speakers and authors pick up on it. I don't know why. I couldn't really tell you why. It's not rocket science. I think you're going to get it right away. But I'm going to walk you through it, okay? And you see what you do. You decide what you want to do, but I promise you this. I promise you this with everything I know, okay? If you grasp this concept and you implement it, your financial life will never be the same. You can take it a lot of different ways. You can use this. I'm going to explain the concept to you that they explained to me years ago that changed our lives. And you can use it in multiple ways. Okay, and I'll explain that. But if you'll do it, your life will change. Now, some of you guys are already rich. I got a bunch of self-made millionaires because I've interviewed so many self-made millionaires right over the years. So I got a lot of you guys. I don't know how many of you are on this call, but I got a lot of emails from you guys saying, hey, man, I want to get richer. Well, you will. Okay, and God bless you. But frankly, I didn't fly back from South America to make you richer. I hope I do, and I'm glad for you to be richer. It's all good. But here's this is really the reason we really flew back and put this together so fast. Okay, before the holidays purposely. Because I know what it's like to struggle with money. I know what it's like to wake up at 3 a.m. and get up and go to the bathroom and look in the mirror and go, how are we going to pay these bills? Like, how are we going to make payroll? How are we going to pay the mortgage? How are we going to pay the rent? We have credit card bills with 25% interest. How are we ever going to catch up? I know that feeling. And the greatest thing about having money, in my experience, is not all the stuff. The greatest thing about having enough money, more than you need, is you'll never have to worry about it another day in your life. Let me tell you, my friends, if you're not there already, it's a different life. It's literally a different life. It's a life where you can really enjoy things. You can enjoy people. You don't have to be stressed out all the time. You're not worried all the time. You can enjoy your life. And it's possible for anyone. The problem is we're not taught, especially in the United States and Canada and the UK, Australia, the first world countries, we're not taught in the school system to become entrepreneurs and learn to do what rich people do. Oh no, we're taught to be employees. Nothing wrong with being an employee. It's hard to get rich being an employee. There are some if you're high enough up, but typically it's pretty hard to get rich being an employee. We're taught to follow rich people, to work for rich people and rich corporations. And that's frankly what most of us do. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just that it's hard to get ahead financially in that model. So you can still have a job and do exactly what I'm talking about, okay? And make more money than you make at your job, believe it or not, doing what we're talking about. So, or you could do a part-time, whatever you want to do. That's what I would do. But it's amazing we're not taught this. So I'm going to teach you the one thing that changed our lives tonight. If you don't know, I'm the author of about 13 different books, sold about 2 million copies. These are 2 of my books that are my most popular, 2 of the most popular books. How Rich People Think sold over 1 million copies worldwide. That came out about 15 years ago. And Secret Self-Made Millionaires Teach Their Kids, okay? All right, so let's get into this. Chapter 3 of How Rich People Think is, to me, the most powerful chapter. And that's what I want to talk about tonight. And here it is, basically, in a nutshell. The middle class is taught to work hard. The world class is taught to leverage. Now, when I say leverage, I don't mean it in the context of debt. That's whole nother thing, okay? If you want to use debt to get rich like some rich people do, God bless you. I don't like debt. I really don't. I know guys like Robert Kiyosaki. I know lots of guys that are rich that love to say, well, it's good debt, and that type of thing. And that's all true, that you can use debt. I don't like being in debt. I don't like owing anyone anything. And I don't owe anyone anything, luckily. I did before. I have before, believe me. I've been there. I don't like it. I sleep better at night. Yeah, maybe you can use debt to get richer. God bless you. Go do it. I like my sleep. And I sleep really well because I don't owe anyone anything. Because if you've got a bunch of debt and things go sideways like they did in 2008, you're in a lot of trouble. And those big time guys that love to play with debt, a lot of those guys, I know most of those guys. I mean, I know a lot of them because I've been interviewing for 41 years, okay? They went broke. You may not have heard, okay? But a lot of those guys, even billionaires, go broke playing with money, playing with debt. I don't like it. I'm not saying you should follow my philosophy. I'm just saying I don't like it personally, okay? But leverage in this context is not debt. In this context, it's leveraging your contacts, the people you know, and your credibility. And leveraging the people that you know's contacts and leveraging the people you know's credibility. Okay, I hope that makes sense. All right? Okay, so leverage. That's what this is all about tonight. Once you get this concept down, if you really digest this in this little broadcast, I promise you, you won't sleep tonight because you'll be rolling around thinking, I've got a solution. I finally have a solution. And that's why we flew back from South America, because this is a solution and it will work. I guarantee it. This is not speculation. I've done this for 25 years and I'm no rocket scientist, believe me. Okay, if I can do it, anyone can do it. So that's what it's about. It's about leverage. Okay, this is the billionaires that I've interviewed for 41 years. 1,300 now and 29 interviews of self-made millionaires and billionaires since 1984. The Wall Street Journal has said multiple times that it's the biggest study ever done on self-made millionaires and billionaires. I don't know if that's true or not. That's what the journal said. Certainly it's a huge study. Okay, I didn't really do it as a study. I did it because I wanted to be financially independent. So I thought I'll interview people who are, I'll do what they do, and I'll get financially independent. And that's actually what happened. But I didn't do it for a study, but it turned out the Wall Street Journal, Fortune magazine, Forbes magazine, they've all said, this is the largest study. Fox Business Network, CNN, they all say, Siebold's got the largest study. Well, okay, it's a study. Call it a study if you want. But this is the thing that billionaires talk about on leverage. Now, I'm going to read this word for word. You've heard part of this before, but you may not have heard the rest of it. Here it goes. It's not how hard you work or what you know. It's who you know. Now, you've heard that part probably. Okay, that's very common. But they usually leave out the rest of the quote, and here it is. I'll say the whole thing again. It's not how hard you work or what you know. It's who you know. And here's the other part. And who they know and who knows you. Now, think about that. See, it's not just the people you know that you have a contact with, that you can pick up the phone and call them and just say, hey, Bob, it's Steve. Hey, Steve, how you doing? I'm doing good. What are you doing, man? Yeah, no, I'm out there mowing the lawn, whatever. That's your contact base. Now I'm talking about all the people you know's contact base. Okay, now I'm going to say the thing that if you're standing up, I want you to sit down because this literally is going to ring in your ears, especially if you're struggling with money and you're stressed out. Okay, that's what I came for tonight. I didn't come back again. If you can get rich, you want to get richer, God bless you. I came here to help the people who are struggling because I know what it's like. Okay, I've said that before. I won't say it again. Here's the statement that's gonna get your attention, I think. You're already rich. But odds are, you don't know it. Let me explain. You have a fortune buried in your possession. And odds are, you haven't dug it up. The fortune is in your phone. Okay, now follow me here. Okay, follow. I'm not using hyperbole. I mean this literally. The fortune's in this phone. All right, let me prove it to you. Okay, if you say we don't have any money, you're talking to your wife, talking to your husband. We don't have any money, honey. We've had those discussions over the years, right, Don? We've had them. Okay, we don't have any money. What are we gonna do? I don't know. Here's the thing: you do have money, and so did we. You have it buried. It's a treasure you have buried. It's in your phone. Let me explain. The average person, okay, they say, according to the internet, there's different numbers. These are the lowest numbers I could find because I didn't want to, exaggerate the numbers, so I could just make it. It doesn't have to be exaggerated. That's the thing. The average person, they say, has 300 contacts in their phone. 300. Okay, they know they can pick up the phone. You can pick up the phone. And go, hey Bob, hey Joe, hey Carol, hey Sue, right? Those 300 people in your phone have 300 contacts as well. That's a multiplier effect, okay? For you people that like math, that's a multiplier. That means that you're one generation away from 300 contacts in your phone times the 300 contacts those people have, which means you are one generation away from 90,000 people. 90,000 people. Now, if you say, well, I don't understand, okay, because this is not linear, okay? Let me prove it to you, okay? So let's say I got 300 people on my phone. I call one of them up and I go, hey, Sam, it's Steve Siebold calling. I don't think you know who I am, but you know my wife, Dawn Siebold. And Sam says, yeah, Steve, I know Dawn. How's Dawn doing? And I go, yeah, no, she's doing great. She's playing pickleball and tennis and, going down to South America in the winter and that kind of thing. Everything's good. He goes, great, fantastic. What can I do for you, Steve? That's it. 90,000 times. This is not a cold call. This is not a cold call. This is a warm call. It's about as warm as you can get without just the person going, hey, Steve, what's going on? Because I have a direct contact with that person. 90,000 persons. Okay, now think of how many people 90,000 people know. That's a lot of people. Did you ever think you knew 90,000 people? Well, effectively, you do. You have access to 90,000 people. Okay, now think about the power of that. Okay, that begs the question. Okay, great, Steve. I'll buy. Okay, what do I do with the 90,000 people? Great question. That's the right question to ask. Let's go down that road, shall we? Okay, your fortune is buried with these 90,000 contacts. Now the question is, how do you leverage those contacts and the credibility those people have? Some of which you have, some of which you don't have. Same for all of us. Okay, some people have more credibility and more contacts than others. All right, but you got 90,000 of them, buried treasure. Everyone does in the first world. They just don't know it. So if you've ever catch yourself saying again to yourself or to your family and you say, we don't have any money. Oh, yes, you do. You're actually rich. You're just not tapping into it. You're actually rich. Congratulations, by the way. You thought you were broke when you got on this call? No, actually, you're rich. You're actually never going to have to think about money another day in your life if you lock into this. That's why I'm doing this. I'm not doing this for fun. I mean, I enjoy it because I know I can help you, but I'm doing this because you'll never have to think about money again if you grasp this concept and you take action. If you do nothing with it, like most people do, well, then, you're in the same boat. But I don't think you'd be on a call with some crazy guy like me talking, during a holiday week in the United States when you've got other things to do, right? Unless you were serious. Okay, so now you say, how do I leverage them? I'm going to give you an example of how I did it, how I built a multi-million-dollar fortune, okay, doing this exact thing. I have lectured about this all over the world. And again, I think I mentioned this before. In my industry, the speaking and training and consulting and writing industry, kind of a niche business, nonfiction. I've done it all over the world, Australia, Europe, Scandinavia, Canada, US. South America, all over, right? And I've talked about this, in those places. And the people usually just go, and I'm like, Dawn's usually with me, and how did I not get it? I don't get it. How can you not get it? I don't know. I've never understood that. So hopefully you'll get this. Not rocket science. Okay, so I'm going to tell you how I did it. Then I'm going to tell you how you can do it. All right, so I just want to explain it through my experience because I know mine better than anybody else. Okay, so here it is. So in 1996, I launched a professional speaking business. I wanted to be a speaker. I was a pro tennis player. Not a very good one, admittedly, but I played pro tennis for 2 years. I had to retire from pro tennis because I got tired of sleeping in my car because I wasn't very good at making money playing tennis. But I had played junior tennis and college tennis and D1 school and pro and all that. But I couldn't really make a good living doing it. I was about top 500 in the world, best day of my life. And back then you couldn't make much money doing it. They make a lot more money now. But back then I couldn't make too much money doing it. So I got out of it, started coaching, and I started going into training people in tennis and other sports, Olympic athletes, in mental toughness training. And I called my program Mental Toughness University. So the reason I did it was because as a tennis player, growing up as a top junior player, playing all over the world, then college, and like I said, and then pro, some days I was really mentally tough, and other days I would let down. And I was like, some psychologists call it the roller coaster effect. You go up and you go down like this. And I couldn't figure out why I couldn't be consistently mentally tough. I knew I had it in me because I could do it. I beat some of the best players in the world during my career. But then I'd lose to someone I shouldn't have lost to, and I would let down. So I was just confounded by this. So I studied it. I studied sports psychology before sports psychology was even a thing. I literally went to psychologists. I went to colleges to talk to psychiatrists, psychologists, say, what is this thing? It took me about 4 years. And I figured it out finally, what I did wrong and what most people do wrong. So I started working with athletes in mental toughness. And I had high profile clients. I won't drop a bunch of names, although I am a terrible name dropper, okay? Because there's a whole nother story on that one. But tonight I won't do it because, I just won't do that. But some of the names, I will drop a few names because it makes the point, okay, that I was doing this really good work with the Boston Celtics, with the Florida Marlins baseball team, with the Ohio State Buckeyes. I just dropped the names, didn't I? I did, didn't I? Okay, I wasn't going to do that. All right. Anyway, okay, so sorry. This is live. This is what's great about being live, So anyway, so the point was, and there were other people too I won't tell you about. I don't want to brag too much. But the point was, I was doing really good work. And I had high profile clients. So I was getting more clients, but I was making very little money. Very little. Just enough to get by. Like I never made more than 40, this is 30 years ago, but I still never made more than 40,000 a year. And we were running like 20,000, 25,000 in credit card debt at 25% interest. I don't know if you've ever had that before, but it sucks. You can never catch up. It's like loan shark loans. You just can't, the average person, there's no way you can catch up. It's just impossible. It's rigged. That's how people get richer. The rich get richer and the poor get poorer and the middle class struggles. It sucks. So what did I do? I went to my millionaires. Because, okay, let me go backwards. I started a speaking business first in 1996. And I thought, okay, because one of the self-made millionaires said, Steve, you're doing good work, but you've got to get out there, man. You've got to go speak. And I didn't want to be a speaker. I'm like, I don't want to give speeches. I was a speech major in college, but I didn't really like it that much. He said, you got to amplify the message. You got to take this from local to the whole world because what you're doing works, but you're not going to get paid until you get out there in a big way. You got to be a speaker, man, a professional speaker. So I said, okay, I'll do it. So I started a speaking business. No idea what I'm doing. Zero. My first year, I lost $50,000 in credit cards. Of course, because I have no money. Credit cards, 25% interest, 50 grand worth. Now I'm like 70 grand in credit cards, right? 25% in. This is like going from bad to worse. So I went back to my self-made millionaires, told them the story. And they said, okay, Steve, here's what you have to do. You got to target a company. You've got to come up with exactly what you're going to do for an organization when you speak to them. Okay? Mental toughness training, right? What's the results you're going to give and target one particular company to be your advocate, your champion, because you're going to get results for them. That's what you have to do. So I put together a package to work with low performing, underperforming sales teams in big companies through mental toughness training. That was the package. I'd never done it with a company before. I've never worked for a company. I've never had a real job before. Don't tell my mother. She's 95 years old and frail. She probably won't like that. She knows. But I had guidance. They said, pick a company, pick one major company and target that company relentlessly. And I said, how do they do it? They go, the fortune's in your phone. It's all the people you know and all the people they know. Now, the phones didn't look like this back then. They were rotary phones. For you young people, you might have seen them in old movies, right? You dial, it's like a road, I mean, it's just this. I'm old as dirt at this point. I'm going to be 61 next month, so it's not impressive. But that's what we did. So they said, go to your phone and call people and ask them. So I decided to target Johnson & Johnson, the Goliath of corporate America, right? Here's the sexy, flashy story of how it happened. I'm on an airplane. I'm reading Fortune magazine, okay? I'm flipping through the page, and there's an article in Fortune magazine that says, the most respected company in the world, Johnson & Johnson. And I thought, if I could sell a deal to Johnson & Johnson, and I could get results with an underperforming sales team, increase sales for Johnson & Johnson, I could leverage that credibility and that result to every company in corporate America. And I went back to my self-made millionaires and I said, am I on the right track? They said, yes, that's exactly how you do it. I said, great, how am I going to get into Johnson & Johnson? I don't know anyone at Johnson & Johnson. They said, Steve, remember, the fortune's in your phone. Call everyone you know. So I did. I started calling everyone I knew. Literally. I mean, I'm not talking about business contacts. I didn't have business contacts. I'm an athlete. I'm a coach. I'm not business contacts. I'm talking to people I went to elementary school with, high school, college, some tennis pros, people I went to church with, people I went to the Rotary Club with, people I went to, whatever. Just people, not business people, just people in my Rolodex. There's another word from history for you younger people. Little cards. We used to flip them around, A through Z. And you go, oh, I want to call, Mr. Jones. Go to J. There's Bob Jones right there. That's what we did. Okay. So I started calling everyone I knew and said, do you know anyone at Johnson & Johnson? Or anyone who knows anyone at Johnson & Johnson? I just need a lead in Johnson & Johnson. I got to have a lead in Johnson & Johnson. And here's what happened. I called 104 people. 104. I remember this like it was yesterday because I was desperate. No connections with Johnson & Johnson. Zero. Except one guy I just met him like a week before at a meeting in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Okay. And he says, I said, do you know anyone at Johnson & Johnson? He says, no. But I know a guy in Houston that knows a guy in Phoenix that works with Johnson & Johnson. So I said, would you call him? He said, yes, I will. And he did. So I offered him $1,000. I said, if I get a contract with Johnson & Johnson, a speech contract, training, consulting, underperforming sales team, whatever it is, I will pay you $1,000 if I get the contract. If I don't, I can't afford to pay you. But if you make this call, that's all you have to do. It'll take you 5 minutes or less. He said, I'll make the call, no problem. For $1,000, that's a hell of a deal. And I said, yeah, okay. So he called him right there. And so he called him up and he said, hey, I got this guy, Steve Siebold, does mental toughest training. The guy's really good. And he's looking for an into Johnson & Johnson. Can you help him? And the guy says to my contact, he says, I know the guy in Phoenix and I'll connect you with the guy in Phoenix. So I called the guy in Houston. He said, he connected me to the guy in Phoenix. I said, yeah, sure, no problem. Called the guy in Phoenix. He says, it's funny you called, Steve, because they're having a meeting in Phoenix, right here in Phoenix, coming up in 3 months. And sure, I'll get you a contact in J&J. There it is. That's the break that changed my life. The break that took us from making an average income to making millions of dollars a year. One phone call literally changed everything. That's how powerful this is. That's why I'm so into this. If you think, man, that dude's wired up, I'm wired up because this works. I know I can change your life with this, okay? Because it changed mine. This is how it worked. This is completely exactly how it happened. So he accepts, all right? We get a contract with Johnson & Johnson. I pay him $1,000. We get a contract to turn around one of their sales teams in the Southeast region. We get a shot. I paid him $1,000, and I swear to the guy, this is 30 years ago. He said, 1997, I guess it was. He said, Steve, all I did was make a call. And you're giving me a check for $1,000? That was after we did we got the first payment. And I said, yes, because that was the deal. He said, man, I'm going to look around for more leads for you. And that's another story for another time. But he did. For years, he did. Because I paid him $1,000 for 5 minutes work. It actually wasn't even 5 minutes work. It was one phone call. It took literally 60 seconds probably. Okay? That's pretty good money if you can do that. That dude never made that kind of money in his life. He worked at a retirement home. I mean, he was not a high-paid person. He was just a nice guy trying to help me out. And he ended up making a fair amount of money with me over the years. Okay? So we got the deal. He got paid. Over the next 24 months, we bust our butts with Johnson & Johnson. We break two national sales records. It was incredible. We're talking about raising sales by upwards of $100 million in 24 months. That was pretty incredible. Those records still stand today, 20 plus years later, as far as I know. And so we had the success story, right? So what do? We leveraged it. That's the word of the night, right? Leverage, leverage, leverage. How can you leverage everything you have to get everything you want? That's it. You have it. It's right here. It's in your phone. This is your buried treasure. You're already rich. You might know it. Some of you do, and a lot of you probably don't. If you're struggling with money, you don't. It's in your phone. You're already rich. This is your treasure. You got to open it up. But if you will, your life will change. Okay, so over the next 20 years, we do turnarounds with everyone because every other word out of my mouth, you guys, was we broke 2 national sales records with Johnson & Johnson, our client, for 7 straight years. We worked at 13 different divisions. Would you guys like us to do the same for you? How about we do an increase of $50 million in your $700 million, Northeast region? And they go, if you could do the same thing you did for Johnson & Johnson for us, we'll pay you pretty much anything you want to get paid. And we said, yes, we can do it. And then we did it to the tune of $1.3 billion in turnarounds with companies over 20 years. Okay, great success, right? But just remember the humble beginnings of the story. It all started with one phone call. One phone call. That was it. That's it. That's how it can change. You have them in your phone. There are people in your phone right now that could make you rich. You just don't know it. And I don't know who they are either, but they're there. If they're not in your phone directly, they probably are. There are probably some in your direct phone, okay? But if they're not in your phone, they're in the people's phone that they know, or that they know, or that they know, and so on and so forth, okay? There's money there. You just have to tap into it. You got to pick the phone up, okay? All right, so this is me at one of the Johnson & Johnson turnarounds in Los Angeles on stage. Mental Toughness University is our program. Okay. This is one way you can use leverage. Remember this now as I tell you this. There are many ways you can use this concept of leverage and the phone contact system. You can do this in a lot of ways. I'm just explaining my way that I did it because that's the way I know the best. Okay. I'm trying to explain the concept through what I did. But that said, I have one way that I can help you do this personally. Okay, if you want to, if you don't, that's fine too. There's other ways to do it. There's tons of ways to do it. Okay, I can tell you 100 different ways, but I just have the one that I know real well. Okay, here's one way you can leverage the 90,000 contacts. I will pay you, everyone on this phone, $5,000 for every contact you generate that goes to contract in a major corporation. Now, we have about 500 companies right now we're targeting to go into with our turnaround business, okay? You get us a contact to go into that company. We get a contract, you get $5,000. It'll take you less than 5 minutes. I like the 5,000 for 5 minutes, but it's usually less than 5 minutes. And I'll show you exactly the script that we have people do that we've used for 25 years. Okay, this is the script. I'm a referral agent for Mental Toughness University, which has helped companies increase sales by $1.3 billion. Would you take a call from those guys? That's it. That's it. We don't want you to answer questions. They go, well, how does it work? I don't really know. I'm a referral agent. All I do is refer. You'd have to talk to them, but I just do a referral. That's all I do. Would you take a call from them or no? And typically, because they know the people, they'll go, yeah, have them give me a call. That's usually what happens. They go, yeah, sure, have them give me a call. I don't know. I don't know if we'd use them or not because I don't know exactly what they do. Mental toughness, I don't know what that means. I don't really either exactly. I just know they're really successful at it. I don't know exactly the workings of it. But if you'll take their call, I'll pass it on. And they go, yeah, have them give me a call. No big deal. Here's the number, Give them the number. Sure. And that's it. That's not a 5-minute call. It's a 1-minute call. But that's it. That's it. We had referral agents doing this all over the world for 25 years. So this is not something hypothetical. We did this for 25 years. And I'm going to give you some examples of people we worked with, some of whom you might know, and a lot of them, of course, you wouldn't know. All right. Here's one of our top referral agents, a guy named Keith Harrell. Now, some of you guys that follow speakers, if you're a corporate person, you probably know this guy. They used to call him Dr. Attitude. We lost him a few years ago. He's a heck of a good guy, but great motivational speaker. If you like Les Brown, he was like a Les Brown type of speaker, except big in corporate America. Great guy. Keith would go in and say, you know what? I'm so glad to be here and talk to you guys, but if you want to take this sales team to the next level, you got to get Steve Siebold at Mental Toughness University. Those guys are the best of the best. They'll take it from here. They've increased sales by over $1 billion, and talk to them. And then he would give me their phone number. I'd call them up and I would get a contract with them. And we paid him $575,000 over time in referral fees. Okay? Just side money for Keith. Here's my question to you. Would $575,000 change your life? It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money, okay? Here's another one. Bob Proctor, the great Bob Proctor. We used to call Bob the Toronto Tornado. We love Bob. We lost Bob a couple years ago, but if you don't know who Bob is, if you've ever seen the movie The Secret, Bob was the star. Bob was a friend and a mentor for 25 years, and we were actually in the follow-up movie, the sequel to The Secret together, called Beyond the Secret. We did that movie together with Les Brown and some other speakers, and it wasn't as popular as The Secret. But anyway, Bob was our referral agent, our top referral agent for 20 plus years, and he generated over $2 million in referral fees. Pretty amazing, right? Okay. Referral agent Mr. X. I can't use his name because he asked me not to, but here's the story about referral agent Mr. X. I called him one time and I said, I'm trying to break into this company, this pharmaceutical company in Jersey, and I've been trying for a year. I was just knocking their door down, talking about Johnson & Johnson, and they wouldn't take my calls. I literally called every month. The secretary thought it was a joke after about 6 months. She's like, I'm sorry, I don't know what to tell you. I was calling the president of the company. It's a $9 billion company. And I said, I just want to talk to him for a few minutes. She wouldn't let. That's the problem, not having a referral. I couldn't get in the door. That's why you got to have a referral. You got to have someone that knows someone, even if they're the janitor of the company. She says, I'm sorry, I'm really embarrassed. I can't get you through. I can't get you through. So I called my referral agent. I said, do you happen to know this guy? Just totally out of nowhere, because I was so used to asking everybody. He said, yeah, I just left his office. I'm in Newark, sitting on the tarmac, getting ready to fly back to Atlanta. I just left his office an hour ago. And I said, you're kidding me. He goes, no, I've known him for years. And I said, holy moly. I told him the story. I said, could you call him and ask him if he'll just take a call from me? That's it. If you do, I'll pay you a handsome commission based on what we sell. He said, sure, give me 5 minutes. I'll call you back. He calls the guy from the tarmac, from the plane, from Newark, from Liberty Airport in Newark. Sitting on the tarmac, calls him up, and he says, we take the guy's call. So he calls me back 5 minutes later, and he says, yeah, call him tomorrow morning, which was a Saturday. Call him tomorrow morning, and he'll take your call. I've been trying for 12 months. But my referral agent, because he knew him, got me in the door. Just for a call, that's it. I call the guy. We get together. We go to, I said, where are you traveling? He goes, I'm speaking down in Naples, Florida, next week. I said, I'll be in Naples. I'll show up and talk to you if I can. I just need a half hour of your time. I'll show you how we can turn around underperforming teams. I gave my whole pitch. He said, sure, come. I'm at the Ritz in Naples. Beautiful place. We'll have lunch. I said, great. Went down there and we sold him a multi-million-dollar, multi-year contract to turn around their underperforming sales teams. So we get the contract. We get paid for the first deal. And I call Mr. X back. And I said, I owe you $50,000. How do you want me to make it out? He said, before he had a heart attack, dropped on the floor, then got up and said, you owe me for what do you owe me? What are you talking about? And I told him a story. He said, I made one phone call, Steve. It took 60 seconds. I've known the guy for 20 years. And I said, here we got the deal. That's your part of the deal, man. That's how it works. He goes, are you serious? And I said, yes, I told you. He goes, yeah, but I thought, I just didn't think much about it. And so I said, I want to pay you 50 grand. How do you want it? He goes, I can't take 50 grand. I'll get killed in taxes. And I said, okay, what do you want me to do? I said, do you have any expenses coming up or anything I could pay for just directly? He goes, yeah, my daughter's getting married, man. And it's like, costing a fortune. I go, how much? And he says, about 50 grand. And I go, I'll pay for your daughter's wedding. And I think he fell on the floor again. And he said, you're kidding me. And I said, no, send me the bills. I'm paying 50. I paid for his daughter's wedding. That's what he got out of it. One time, that was the only one. One time, paid for his daughter's wedding, $50,000. Does this work? Yeah, it works. It works, okay? So that's another story. All right. So, okay, this sounds like too good to be. That sounds too good to be true. Like if everyone, okay, yeah, I get that. So where does it break down with people? Does it break down? Yes, it does. All the time with people. Like I've had, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of referral agents over the years. Okay. Most of them don't do anything. The ones that do, this is that try and don't make it. This is what the number one thing that holds them back. They say this, Steve, I'm not a big shot. I don't know big shot executives to get you in big shot companies. I don't know anyone at Microsoft or Procter & Gamble or, Tesla. I don't know. I know firemen. I know policemen. I know school teachers. I know people that go to my church in the local town. I don't know big shots like that. So I can't do this. Wrong. You don't have to know big shots. All we need as a referral, now please stay with me here, okay? All we need is someone who's inside the door of these companies because we're outside the door. And I don't care if they're the janitor or the president, okay? It's faster if it's someone higher, but it doesn't really matter because we'll work our way up the ladder. We just need someone inside the door instead of outside the door. Here's the reason why. Big companies have 27 gatekeepers blocking those doors, but the janitor and everyone else is inside. And I'm not. Our group is not. So we need someone just to open the door for us. That's it. Doesn't matter how low or high they are. We will work with them and work our way up the ladder. So this is not relevant, but people lock into that. It's a mindset, it's a middle-class mindset, and sometimes they fail. So if there's any downside or failure part of this, that's how they fail. The people that get this, they make money, as I said. So let me give you examples. Some examples of companies, real world examples we broke into. Procter & Gamble. We tried to break in P&G for 6 straight months. Nobody knew anybody. Then one of our referral agents, we had an office in Sydney, Australia for years. And one of our guys in Sydney, we talked to him and he said, I don't know really anyone big, but I know a guy who works in the mail room. He literally delivers the mail to everyone in the Sydney office for Procter & Gamble. He's the mail guy. He's been there like 20 years. You want his number? Can he help you? And I go, yeah, he's inside the building. I'm not. Call the mail guy. He goes, man, I'm just a mail guy. I've been there 20 years. Like I know everyone. And I said, you know everyone? He goes, yeah, I know everyone pretty much. I said, how high up do you know him? He goes, well, I deliver the mail to all the offices in the building. And I said, how high does that go? He goes, it's everyone. I said, do you know the president of the company? He said, he's one of my best friends. And I said, okay, is there any way we could get a meeting? Just a phone call, quick. Just would you take a call from us? We do turnarounds. I told him a story. And he said, I don't know. He's pretty busy. I could ask him because I'll deliver his mail today. I'll ask him for you. All he can say is no. And so he asked him and he said, sure. He said, yeah, give him a call. No problem. So I called the president of Procter & Gamble Australia. He said, Steve, it's so funny you call. The Aussies are like the nicest people in the world for one. Okay, we work down there a lot. They're the nicest people in the world. So he goes, yeah, Steve, mate. He says, look, I don't have time to do a turnaround right now, but we just happen to be launching our international convention for Procter & Gamble in Australia, in Las Vegas, at the Bellagio. Would you want to be our keynote speaker at the Bellagio on the Strip in Vegas? It's 3 months away. And I said, yeah, I would. He said, great, I'll see you in Vegas. And I spoke there and we got a contract. And of course, the commissions were paid out from a mailroom guy. You don't have to be a big shot. That's the point. Okay, GlaxoSmithKline. We got into GlaxoSmithKline from a trainer, a corporate trainer making about $60,000 a year. 60 grand a year. Okay. He got us in with one person at GlaxoSmithKline. I couldn't break into that company myself to save my life. I just couldn't do it. I tried. They just have barriers everywhere. This guy gets us one call. It takes me 3 months to get this woman on the phone. We get a contract. I pay the trainer the commission. We do 9 years of turnarounds with GlaxoSmithKline. 9 years. We're talking about millions of dollars in commissions, okay? And in income from a trainer, a corporate trainer, not a big shot. Okay. All right. So I'll whip through these. Royal Bank of Canada, the largest employer in Canada, 105,000 employees across Canada. A banker, a local banker in Toronto said, yeah, I know someone at RBC. Of course, I'll get you in. Paid him a commission. We did a turnaround at Royal Bank of Canada. Okay. Johnson & Johnson, I already told you, the retirement home worker, not making a lot of money. Johnson & Johnson, 7 years of turnarounds at Johnson & Johnson, millions of dollars. Microsoft, my hairdresser. I couldn't get into Microsoft. I'm getting a haircut and I'm sitting there getting a haircut. This woman's cut my hair for 2 years. I've never asked her about this. Why? Because I was being stupid and I thought she's a hair cutter. She's not going to know anybody. That's the wrong attitude, by the way. And I fell into that trap. So anyway, I said, hey, by the way, do you know anyone at Microsoft? She said, no, but I know one of my best friends is a yacht broker in Fort Lauderdale, and he knows all the senior executives up on the East Coast because he drives their yachts up to the East Coast and down to Florida in the winter. He knows them all. So I said, could you call him and see if he could help us get into Microsoft? She said, yes. And she did. And we did. And I wrote her a check for a number she'd never seen in her life before, probably. Okay. A hairdresser. All right. Merck Pharmaceutical, guy was a tennis pro. I was talking to one of my tennis pro friends teaching tennis. He goes, yeah, I got a guy I'm teaching at Merck. He goes, you want to talk to him? And I said, I'll pay you a commission if I get a deal. He goes, yeah, sure. Here's his number. Got a deal at Merck, did a keynote speech at their national convention from a tennis pro. These are not big shots. These are people making average incomes, okay? So it's doable for anyone. Okay, so I'm wrapping up now, guys. I know it's getting late. How do you become a referral agent? If you want to work with us, I will work with you. You'll work with our team. I'll train you, okay? There's no investment or anything like that. There's no money to be put up. It's all free, okay? We provide the training from the studio online on Zoom, just like we're doing now. You can make $5,000 if you want. You can make $1 million if you want. It's completely up to you. You can make everyone in between, do it part-time, whatever. There's no restrictions. There's no catch or anything like that. No BS, okay? I don't do BS. Email me. This is my personal email address, steve@steveontv.com. Shoot me an email and just say, I want to be a referral agent. We'll send you a contract, a 1-page contract saying we will agree to pay you, et cetera, et cetera. It's like a 1.5-page contract. Very simple. Okay. If you want to do that. All right. Now let me close with this. Join us doing this if it suits you. If you're listening to this or watching this and going, this is not my thing. No sweat, man. Don't do it. Okay. I don't care if you do it with us or you do it on your own. I just want you to do it. Okay. I just want you to. So if not, find another way to leverage these contacts, because your fortune, believe me, please keep thinking about this all night long as you sleep. Your fortune is right here. You're already rich. I promise you. I'm not joking around. I'm not hyping this. I live this. You're already rich. It's right in your phone, and all these people that know all these people, 90,000 people. Do it with us. Do it on your own. Do it with someone else. I don't really care. Just do it. Okay. So you can live this financially free life and you don't have to worry about this bullshit, bills and money and pressure and all this stuff. Sorry for the bad language, but it is bullshit. You get tired of it fast. It wears you out. It hurts your life. I want you to have a worry-free, in terms of money, life so you can enjoy it with your kids and your family and your friends and all the rest. Okay. All right. So that's what I got. I hope it helps you. I hope you do it. I hope to hear from you guys, and I wish you a happy Thanksgiving in the United States, and thank you for joining us tonight. Appreciate it.